So we're here to understand and gain insight into the future of IP voice. And voice is obviously the cornerstone of human communication. There's no better way to excite, annoy, frighten or calm someone than by the sound of the human voice. And from the moment that Alexander Graham Bell put voice down a wire, our world and indeed our business world changed radically forever. And in the last 15 years, we've seen the emergence of IP voice as a new way of communicating. And in the last 5 years, we've seen a radical shift in evolution in technologies that are built around voice that enable better collaboration. And at Geni, we call this concept the modern workspace. So over the next hour, we're going to hear from 3 very engaging speakers on this concept and what it means in the modern workspace. So first up, Lindsay Cowley, the GM of Fixed Business for Telecom. And he's going to talk us through some key trends from what he sees and also how Telecom's voice network is structured. Second up, Vaughan Klein, the Regional Manager for Collaboration for Cisco Australia. Sounds like the right guy. He's going to be talking about maximising the benefits of IP voice for collaboration. And we had some feedback in the session from last time saying a little bit of tech is okay, you don't have to go just with the slides. So the team decided to bring in Vaughan over the telepresence session onto the screen, so that'll be an interesting one for later on. And last up, we've got Aaron McDonald, the Manager for Product Propositions for Geni, and he's going to talk us through the practical steps to take when thinking about IP voice and collaboration and how to maximise cost efficiencies. So without further ado, please welcome our first speaker, the General Manager for Fixed Business for Telecom, Lindsay Cowley.
That's great, thanks Andrew. So look, just a little bit of introduction because it's quite a long job title up there, isn't it? But the Fixed Business Team product, we are the group within Telecom that take all of the market feedback and then turn that into products and pricing propositions. So we're a team of product managers who are looking at both our legacy voice network and where that's going into the future. So that's what we're going to be looking at today mostly is where are we going, what are the big trends. But first it's probably just worth touching on where have we come from. And where we've come from is a really robust, bulletproof voice network, really great for making and receiving calls. But if you're going to do the sexy stuff that we all want to do, because that's how we get business productivity going, it takes quite a big investment in on-premise equipment and infrastructure. The telecom we are today is quite a different telecom where we were even just a few months ago. Our market is changing rapidly. There are bits of our business that are no longer with us, so that's the access network that's gone out with Chorus. We're moving from a copper-based infrastructure to a fibre-based infrastructure as a result of the government UFB initiative, ultra-fast broadband initiative. Increasing competition. It has been hectic, even just in the last week. We've now got the wonderful vote of Clear, and we've also seen Orcon take over its parent Incordia. So, the competitive landscape that we're operating in is really, really dynamic. And like all of you, we all have cost pressures in this post-GFC climate. The only thing that's perhaps changing faster than our market is our technology. And we'll be talking today about SIP, first 3-letter acronym of the day. Got to get one in early just to check who's awake. But the rise of mobility has just been incredible, particularly mobile data. It is exponential growth. The proliferation of smartphones. In fact, every time Apple put out a new iOS upgrade, the traffic on the network just goes through the roof like you wouldn't believe. So everything's social networking these days. We've all got to be twittering and tweeting and Facebooking. It's all up in the cloud, and HD video, high definition video, is now everywhere. It's on every device. And it's all enabled by that one technology to rule them all. It's IP and IP networks. So, some global trends. 89%, that's the growth rate of SIP out there. So the replacement technology for ISDN, SIP trunks, growing globally at around 89%. Mostly been in the consumer market today, but we're now starting to see the growth rates in business overtake that of consumer. 20%, that is the number of endpoints, of IP voice endpoints that are now being sold from a cloud infrastructure. so hosted within a service provider network. In fact, the growth of hosted IP PBXs or IP-centrics is now overtaking the growth, is now faster growth than what we're seeing in the other IP voice solutions. 71%. When we go and ask people, what is it that you rate as very important when you're considering your choice of providers in an IP market, 71% say it's the integration between the mobile network and the fixed network. And so those providers that can do both of those things are extremely well placed, because that's one of the key applications and use cases for IP voice that has emerged. 20%. By 2016, all of the mobile voice traffic, so 4G networks, LTE, if you want another three-letter acronym, are going to be delivered as a voice over IP solution. So again, those providers that can integrate and have capability in both the fixed and the mobile networks are going to be critical to the success of the productivity benefits we're all seeking to achieve by moving to an IP voice network. 140 million people made a video call in the last 12 months. We've made about 11 billion of them in total. So that's a B2B or a B2C collaboration. 140 million people did that over video calls. So exponential growth happening in the video collaboration space as well. Now, this is our simplified network slide. A little bit hard to see. It's come out on a black background. That's good. It's making it even more difficult. But this is our simplified network slide. It looks complex because it is. This is the network that we've built to take us into the IP voice space. And in order for this stuff to work, you need a bunch of guys and girls who are highly technical, who, they're generally the people in your organisation that are wearing the black T-shirts that say, "I don't understand humans." But these are the people that we need to make this stuff work. It is not a simple transition to make. But we'll try and make it a little bit simpler today, just to explain some of the key parts of our network for you. And we're going to work our way from right to left. We're going to work from the inner parts of our core back to what turns up on the customer premise. So the media gateways. The media gateways are how we tie the new IP voice network to what we call the public switch telephone network, the PSTN, and that's the mobile network as well. So we have those in 8 locations around the country, and that means that we can fail over to those 8 locations if we need to. The application servers are the brains of the new IP network. It's not just a piece of software that we've installed on a server, although it's probably the easiest way to think of it, but it's nowhere near that simple. But this is where the smarts around the video, the presence, and the mobile integration all occur, is in those application servers. The SBC is another 3-letter acronym for you. You can write that one down. That's the session border controllers. That's where the IP voice calls are stood up and torn down. That's how we do the call control, the new IP network. We've got about 8 of those that are all load sharing, load balancing, and therefore we've got, again, the ability to fail over between those 8 elements of our network. MPLS core, you can tell we're getting serious now because the acronym's gone 4 letters. So that's our data network. Voice is now the killer app on the data network. And we've got a highly redundant, high availability IP network core, the MPLS core. And so we, again, have designed for resiliency and failover within that data network. The last element, really, before we hit the customer premise, is the access network. And that's the only bit. When we think about Telecom being separated and the split off of Chorus, that's the only bit that now isn't ours. So a lot of people think that when Telecom got split, a lot of the network infrastructure went to Chorus. That's not the case. Most of the smarts are back in our network and remain in our network. It's only that really last mile that's moved on. Integration is a key element. When we look at what are those really important features that customers are telling us they're looking for when they move to IP voice, first and foremost, it's integration, and it's integration of user experience. Can I have one numbering plan for my users, whether they're on the desk or on a mobile? Can I have that integration of my fixed and mobile staff? So it doesn't matter whether I'm in the office or I'm out in the field, the way I engage with that person is exactly the same. How do I integrate the client site? So can I have my head office on a PABX delivered via SIP trunks and some of my remote offices delivered via IP-centrics or hosted PBX? And actually, those two things, we're doing as well in New Zealand as we are anywhere else. I just came back from a conference up in Broadsoft, up in Arizona, which is with our vendor Broadsoft. And we were their reference study for the integration of IP offerings between fixed and mobile and between SIP trunks and IP-centrics, hosted PBXs. So that was a really great thing to come from little old New Zealand and to be held up by this international vendor to people like Bell Canada and France Telecom as leaders in this area. The other area of integration is between the hardware and the connectivity. And another four-letter acronym for you, MSSA. This says we're going to deliver multiple services over a single access. And that's really where some of the key cost and efficiency benefits come from in the IP voice world. With love, as a service. And we know once we start to put services up into the cloud, which is really what this is saying, we'll do it for you. We're going to provide the service for you. We're going to host it for you. And of course, the benefits for that are that we move from a capital-intensive model to being an OpEx model. So we get to move what was a big outlay of cash into being a rental. And once we do that, we can scale the model as your business needs change. And that's been a really key driver. When we looked again to the international markets, the uptake of IP-centrics or hosted PBXs has been one of the absolute key drivers for IP voice in those markets. Less so about SIP trunks, very, very much so about hosted PBXs. And the key reason for that is it scales. Not only do we move CapEx to OpEx, but it also scales. It scales as I need to turn up offices, or it scales as I need to bring staff in for whatever peak demands or changes to my business. But once we move to a cloud-based or a service-based model, we also start to look at other benefits. I no longer have the same requirements for in-house technical resources. They're all provided by the service provider. But another really key one, really hammered home this week, is the way that cloud-based services can mitigate business risk or disasters. And I bet in about 9 states in the US right now, there are those companies that are really glad they had cloud and hosted-based services, and there are those that wish they had cloud and hosted-based services. Same was true for Christchurch not that long ago. The next thing that we hear is around the support infrastructure. And again, once I move to a cloud-based environment, or what's important for me in IP voice is having that single point of accountability. Remember, we said earlier that in an IP voice world, I've converged my voice network and my data network, certainly from a connectivity perspective, into the business. Having a single point of accountability for that is absolutely key. We also need to make sure that the people we're dealing with are suitably trained, because the world just got a hell of a lot more complex for the service provider. You know, it used to be we had separate voice networks, and we've been working with those for 900 years. And we knew that stuff really, really well. The moment you start to converge it into a combined data and IP voice world, the level of complexity increases. As we talked about before, that network was really quite complex. And so one of the things that we've made sure that we do is there's about 3,000 of us in support roles, the Gen team across New Zealand and Australia. They're all highly trained, and we put them through a Waikato University accredited training program, academy program. But one of the most important things is you want your service provider to be able to respond quickly to this complex environment. And again, that ability to demonstrate a quick response, an effective response, is absolutely key in what we're hearing from the market. But look, the best thing to do, or the best support, is actually to have no support. Design resiliency into your network. And that's what we're, again, hearing. So we want robust designs. We want to have multiple failover points and redundancy points within the network. We need to have trust in the partners that we're choosing. There is a great number of people out there who provide IP voice solutions, both from a application vendor perspective and from a service provider perspective. We've chosen Broadsoft because they're the undisputed leader in IP voice. And we get a huge amount of benefit and comfort from the work with them. But the other thing is, in the individual solution designs for each customer, you need to design resiliency and redundancy into each. Because it's now not just your voice service falling over, it's your data service falling over if it does. And you need somebody who can provide redundant access and manage that appropriately for you. But most of all, you need somebody with experience. And aside from our long legacy of voice experience in the PSTN world, we've been doing IP voice since 2009 and earlier. And so we're really focused on taking customers on that journey from PSTN voice to IP voice, from their old services to new services, and from that migration that comes with it from copper-based infrastructure through to fibre-based infrastructure.